Taiwan. I'm Tiffany Wong with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Taiwan's former vice president has arrived in Vatican City for the funeral of Pope Francis. Chen Jianren is attending as a special envoy representing Taiwan. After arriving, he visited St. Peter's Basilica to pay his respects to the Pope, whose funeral will be held on Saturday.
世事呢，实际上并不是一个泯灭而是一个生命的转换。从世俗的生命转到灵性的生命。那我们也知道很多的像教宗这样虔诚的神职人员都希望早一点回归主怀。
Dozens of world leaders have already started gathering in the Vatican for Francis's funeral, paying their respects to the pontiff who led the Catholic Church for 12 years. Let's take a look now at how he's being remembered. Bryn Thomas reports.
Pope Francis, the 266th leader of a Roman Catholic Church, has died in the Vatican City on Easter Monday, hours after being seen publicly for the last time during Easter. In Asia and around the world, an outpouring of grief marks a papacy committed to interfaith dialogue, social justice, and world peace.
Il cielo ci benedirà se in terra e sul mare sapremo perderci cura dei più deboli. Se sapremo superare la paralisi della paura e il disinteresse che condanna a morte con guanti di velluto.
Born Jorge Mario Bergoglio, December 17, 1936 in Argentina, to Italian immigrant parents, Pope Francis studied chemistry before joining the Jesuits in 1958, aged 21. He was ordained in 1969 and became the Cardinal of Buenos Aires in 2001 under Pope John Paul II. In 2013, Francis made history as the first non-European pope in 1,200 years, stepping in after Pope Benedict resigned. He inherited a church in crisis, reeling from a financial scandal, ongoing criticism over child sexual abuse by priests, and declining influence in the West. In the face of these challenges, Francis took a different approach, one of openness and inclusion.
Le persone di tendenze omosessuali sono figli di Dio. Dio li vuole bene. Dio li accompagna.
His first steps taken as Pope, in his modest black papal shoes, put the Church on a different path, towards reform over tradition and modesty over ostentation.
Quando vedo un prete o una suora con la macchina ultimo modello, ma non si può.
During his 12-year papacy, Pope Francis championed migrant rights, environmental protection, peace in Ukraine and the Middle East, and global reconciliation. In doing so, he reshaped the world's largest Christian church and its 150 million members in Asia.
Que el uso de la energía atómica con fines de guerra es hoy más que nunca un crimen, no solo contra el hombre y su dignidad, sino contra toda posibilidad de futuro en nuestra casa común.
Francis pushed for peace on the Korean Peninsula. He called for dignity and reconciliation in Myanmar while stopping short of directly addressing the Rohingya crisis. In the Philippines, he supported marginalized communities and urged for peace among different religious groups. Francis's approach to Taiwan and China was delicate. His papacy continued the Vatican's official ties with Taiwan. The Holy See remains Taiwan's only official ally in Europe, but his papacy also sought engagement with China, approving a deal with Beijing on appointing bishops in 2018, despite China doing so without church approval.
Ai cattolici cinesi gli chiedo di essere buoni cristiani e buoni cittadini.
With Pope Francis's death, cardinals will soon gather at the Vatican to choose his successor. But the Church's future remains unclear. He leaves behind a more humanist institution, but one still facing significant challenges. As the world and the Holy See face an increasingly uncertain future, Francis's call for peace, compassion, and reconciliation may prove more important than ever. Eason Pan, and Bryn Thomas for TaiwanPlus.
Families are getting caught in the crossfire of rising tensions between Pakistan and India after a terrorist attack in Indian-controlled Kashmir left 26 people dead. In response, both countries have canceled visas for each other's citizens and shut down their largest shared border crossing. Getting a visa was already difficult, with long-standing religious and political tensions between Hindu-majority India and Muslim-majority Pakistan. Now, cross-border families trying to stay united are feeling frustrated.
नहीं ऐसा तो नहीं है भाई, मैं हिंदुस्तानी हूँ, हिंदुस्तान से प्यार करता हूँ, बट मेरी फैमिली है यहाँ पे। ऐसा भी नहीं है कि पाकिस्तान से नफरत है, हमें पाकिस्तान से भी मोहब्बत है, बट ये जो ऊपर की वो जो बातें होती है ना, वो हम नहीं चाहते हैं, वो हमें उससे बिल्कुल नफरत है। तो पाकिस्तान में भी हमारी फैमिली है, इंडिया में भी फैमिली है, तो हमारे दिल में किसी भी कंट्री के लिए नफरत नहीं है।
Pakistan's foreign ministry says it doesn't know how many Indian nationals are in the country, but that Sikh pilgrims would be allowed to stay. Children are getting more and more tech-savvy, but a new survey has found that over half of minors using social media in Taiwan are unaware of some major internet dangers. The survey by Taiwan Fund for Children and Families shows about 80% of children aged 9 to 18 are using social media, but more than half don't know how to use privacy settings. Many also think it's fine to share personal details like their name, birthday, and photos, information that could put them at risk of scams, identity theft, or even in-person harassment. The group is urging parents to talk with their kids about how to stay safe online. This year marks 80 years since the end of World War II, the deadliest conflict in history. In Asia, it reshaped borders and identities, especially here in Taiwan, where former Japanese subjects were suddenly ruled by their former enemies. To explore this moment in history, our reporter Jeffrey Chen spoke to Lau Kek-Kwat, director of the acclaimed documentary From Island to Island, which shares the stories of Taiwanese soldiers and war survivors.
First, can you tell us a bit more about the documentary and what aspects did you focus on?
Because Taiwan was one of the Japan Empire colonies at that time, so Taiwan was directly involved in the war when Japan launched the war. So the films From Island to Island, these films actually tackle and trying to exploit the experience of Taiwanese soldiers and also civilians when they were overseas all over the Southeast Asia, mainly Southeast Asia during the war. Basically, if you look at the research and study about most of the Taiwanese soldiers nowadays, most of them will emphasize on how suffering they are, on the victimhood they have been experienced. But my documentary trying to explore also, before we becoming victims, we are also part of the perpetrator who launched the war and conquered Southeast Asia.
Can you tell us a bit more about Taiwan, how it fit into the World War II narrative?
As we have say just now, Taiwan is not only as a part of the colony, in fact, it's a very important base for Japan Empire to go southward, which means in the modernization, the successful modernization of Taiwan actually encouraged Japan, has more confidence. Since we have been able to conquer Taiwan, since we have been able to let the people want to be Japanese army, want to be Japan army, so they are more confident, say we are able to go Southeast Asia. This is why they launched the whole Southeast Asia war. And this is using Taiwan as a base. They are confident they can go to the Southeast Asia and conquer, not only to conquer, but also to manage, which means to manage, you need people who can speak the local language. And because Taiwanese, they speak Taiwanese language, which is similar to Hokkien in Southeast Asia. So as a mindset of the army, they need people to go for the war. After the war, they need people to run business there, to run for the newsroom over there. They need people to run the administration. And by the resources they have and the knowledge they accumulated in Taiwan, making them, we are ready to go to the Southeast Asia and conquer.
How do you think our individual perception of history is reflected by how it's remembered by society or by different countries?
Well, I do think Taiwan as a society as a whole, we can do, there's still a lot of space and a lot more we can do about that. I mean, to think about how do we involve in this war. I mean, it's our duties as a younger Taiwanese. It's not anymore we should bear the responsibility of the war crimes is grandparents' generation. But it's our duty as a young Taiwanese today, it's our duty to how we can remember this World War II history. I mean, if we go out to Southeast Asia, are we going to tell those neighboring countries we simply do not remember it? Right. I don't think it's fair for those victims of the Southeast Asia.
So from hearing various narratives and digging through all these historical archives, did filming this change your outlook on history, and how so?
Well, if you're talking about my perspective, frankly speaking, in the beginning when I first learned about the Taiwanese soldiers involved in the massacre when in the Southeast Asia, and also because we come to 80 years after the war, and then for all the 80 years there has been just silence. No one talk about it, no one tell about it, like no one acknowledge they have been there involved in this. In the beginning when I learned about all those materials, personally I'm quite angry. I'm like quite frustrated. Why, I mean, as a society, you just denying all this happened? Yeah, but then I try to control my anger and rage in the film, as you can see, because I do hope this is a film that can dialogue with young people. So I do not want to appear as just an angry person, keep accusing the others. Instead, I want inviting the youngs, like, okay, we all know what this had happened, and we all know we have not thought about this, but now we know about this. What else we can do? What else we can think about it?
You can watch the full interview with Lau Kek Kwat on Zoom In Zoom Out, available on YouTube or the TaiwanPlus website. Taiwan's got some new seasonal visitors, tiny feathered travelers who have taken a long flight to get here, and Hualien's remote beaches have become the perfect summer getaway for them. Chelsea Wu has a story.
On the northern tip of Taiwan's scenic east coast, some very special summer visitors have landed. These birdies are little terns, tiny migratory birds flying in all the way from Australia and New Zealand, and they've picked an unexpected spot to raise their chicks, this beach.
它那个地方是在一个堤防外面，就是很高的地方，所以一般的人比较进不去，那沙滩车也进不去，所以它的人为干扰会相对的来说，像比利乌溪口来的会更少一点点。
Little terns typically migrate to Taiwan between April and August, but their usual nesting spots along the Hualien riverbanks are becoming less suitable, as fishing, beach cleanup efforts, and stray dogs and cats all disturb their habitats there. Now, the Heping River is a new refuge, and looking to protect their new feathered neighbors, local businesses are forming patrol teams to support tern conservation. The Taiwan Cement Corporation is working with the Wild Bird Society for the first time ever, and their efforts are already showing results. The number of little terns at Heping River is steadily increasing, with around 120 nests recorded.
那因为和平电厂跟和平港的阻隔，非常意外的造就了一个小燕鸥很安全的一个孵育的处所。而志工巡守队的成员，我们更结合了我们场内的这些包商朋友们，一同来参与。
The team hopes to boost the bird's breeding success rate by 10% within 3 years, and aims to promote education on tern conservation in local elementary schools, inspiring the community to continue protecting these tiny travelers. Fu Huaheng and Chelsea Wu for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Finally, take a listen to these traditional bells in Belgium, known as the carillon. It's been 10 years since the art form was recognized by UNESCO as cultural heritage. I'm Tiffany Wong. Take care and see you next time. I'm Tiffany Wong in Georgetown, Penang, and you're watching TaiwanPlus.